The Chris and Chris show is back, and and we're gonna be talking about things that we are looking forward to and things that concern us. Don't go away.
Your Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
We are so back, aren't we, little man?
Yeah.
It's exciting. This is it, guys. We got hockey starting right now. Tony's been teasing the return of the Chris and Chris show for the last 4 months, literally for the last 4 months. So it's good to finally have it here. Just a reminder, if you're landing on this show, this is going to be a Saturday morning exclusive on YouTube only. Little Chris steps in for Tony, and we talk a little Golden Knights hockey. It might be a recap of the week, might be a preview of a game, might be just something we feel like talking about, and that's what we're going to do. So we appreciate everyone taking a little bit of time out of their Saturday mornings or their day or their week or their month, whatever it is. We do greatly appreciate you checking out the Chris and Chris show. Reminder, you can check out Locked On VGK with myself and Tony Cordasco Monday through Friday, anywhere you get your podcasts and on YouTube. So, Chris, before we talk about today's topics, let's kind of talk about how we got here and where we're going, I guess. So, last show we talked about was probably after the Golden Knights got knocked out of Game 7 against the Stars. Stars go on to have a pretty good playoff run. Don't quite get to the Stanley Cup final. The Edmonton Oilers do. Florida Panthers win the Stanley Cup in an absolute epic Stanley Cup finals. So I guess before we talk about VGK stuff, just talk a little bit about the playoffs last year and what was exciting. And fire away, little man.
What did I predict? Edmonton and Florida? Oh yeah, I
Edmonton, Boston. Remember, you changed it to Edmonton and Boston.
Really? I don't remember that. Anyways, I think it was definitely a really good playoffs by all the teams. Well, maybe besides the Preds.
Poor Preds.
It was probably the most epic Stanley Cup final I've watched in a while. From great saves to horrible ice.
Dude, that's a good call. Some of the ice was bad, wasn't it? Florida.
Yeah.
In Florida, it was bad. They're not used to playing hockey this deep into the year, and they did. It's 2 years in a row now, so good job, Florida.
Yeah. The puck literally didn't slide.
It looked like watching an outdoor game at times, so 100%. Yeah, I mean, thinking back to obviously watching the Stanley Cup final to getting through a weird offseason for the Vegas Golden Knights with a lot of changes in the roster. I'm sure that'll get talked about. To training camp opening just a couple days ago, we got a little peek at what the lines could possibly end up being once the season starts. So I'm going to turn over to Chris right now, and I'm going to start by asking Chris, what are you looking forward to with the upcoming Vegas Golden Knights season?
Well, the first thing is the question I've been wondering all off season. Will the Dragon be there or will it not?
Will the Dragon be there? Listen, that Dragon was cool looking, wasn't it? That was pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
The Bullets didn't have that good of a record. I think they were 1-2 at home with the Dragon. And I know, Vegas is a town built on superstition and luck and good luck and bad luck. And, there used to be at MGM, Chris, remember people used to have to walk in under a big lion's head, and that was deemed superstition or not lucky, I guess. So that got changed. So maybe the Dragon isn't, maybe Lucky the Dragon. Can we name it Lucky, Chris? I don't know. Does it have a name? Unlucky the Dragon?
That just makes the horse mad.
I think it was called. Oh yeah, there you go. See, we'll call it fire, but that's not going to work. All right, so Chris, something on the ice. That was pretty funny. Something on the ice. What are you looking forward to about the team for this season?
Well, one thing I'm looking forward and concerned about is what are they going to look like with the new players they have now? and what players that they did have last season and the players that they don't have this season. Like, for example, Jonathan Marchessault, Logan Thompson, Mega Mario, Chandler Stevenson,
The eye roll that was.
and
Here,
who
so
else?
let me stop you right there, Chris. So let's talk about. We'll save the concerns for the next segment because I got a good question came up, and I'm actually going to have you rank a couple of things. I made a note so I don't forget right there. So, as far as the new players go, Chris, are you excited to see what they could bring? So, just a couple recaps. We've talked about this, but Victor Olofsson from the Buffalo Sabres has played with has played with Jack Eichel, and they had some good chemistry back in Buffalo. You have a youngster in Alex Holtz who had an interesting season with the New Jersey Devils, 28 points, but primarily played in bottom six roles, so on the third and fourth line. They brought in a veteran, Tanner Pearson, for a tryout, and I know it's early, but all systems are pointing to him possibly making the team. So, of those new players, Chris, obviously that doesn't ease the pain of Marchessault and Stevenson, Mike Amadio, and Will Carrier, but are you excited when I talk about those players? Is it kind of wait and see? What do you think when I say those three names to you?
I think they can do good. I obviously don't see the Golden Knights winning the cup, but I see them helping the Golden Knights get into the playoffs and possibly making it to the conference final, and maybe helping us even get to the cup final.
Well, one thing, Chris, understand, and you know this as good as anyone. Kelly McCrimmon is not going to sit still. What I mean is, if the Vegas Golden Knights come January, February, early March, find themselves in a good playoff spot, Kelly's going to find whatever pieces he needs to give this team a shot. So I think the bigger question is, let's start slow. I mean, I think I know the answer already, Chris, but do you think the Vegas Golden Knights will comfortably make the playoffs coming up?
I think it's gonna be kind of like a little replay of last year. They struggle to make the playoffs. They go in like 14th or 13th and whatever. However, I think they can.
You say
However,
14th or 13th, you're talking about in the league overall. So like
yeah.
6th, 7th, or 8th in the Western Conference. Keep going.
But also, I think they do have a chance on getting in at least ninth place, finishing ninth place this season.
So a fringe playoff spot, they may get in, they may not get in. It's going to be close.
Yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I've talked about when me and Tony do the show that I think the Golden Knights need to tread water. I think they need to be okay through January, and obviously health and a lot of things need to come together. But if they're in playoff position, I think there will be some type of moves made to give this team a chance. Same breath, I really feel like the window is going to get a little bit better for the Golden Knights for 25, 26 and the following 2, maybe even 3 seasons after that. A lot of changes with contracts, rising salary cap. So this season might be about seeing what some of these young players have we just talked about. Plus Brendan Brisson. Will Brendan Brisson make the roster day one? Or are we going to be watching him in Henderson a lot? How do you feel about Brendan Brisson, Chris?
I think he'll be like going up and back this season because we all know the Golden Knights are for some reason the heading team on injuries, and I think once the team has their first out of 1 million injuries this season, I think he'll be the first to come up.
You're not wrong about that. If it's a scoring type player, if it's someone in the top 6 or top 9, definitely. If it's a role player, it could be like a Jonas Rondbjerg or something like that. But we'll see how that whole situation plays out. So back to the segment here. Let's make sure we stay on track, both of us. What are you most excited for, Chris? Is there one thing you're excited for, or a group of things that really excites you as the Golden Knights have their first preseason game tomorrow?
But one thing I always look forward to the season is seeing the new logo that comes down in center ice. And this season,
there's no Stanley Cup at center ice anymore. That kind of sucks. No Stanley Cup this year on center ice.
And this year I have 2. It's of course what I said. And will the Dragon be there or will it not?
You're all about the dragon, dude. You're all about the dragon. You're all about the stuff on like the literal stuff on the ice. You excited to see if Jack Eichel can have another strong season? How about okay? We'll get Tony going early on a Saturday. William Karlsson, 30 goals, 30 assists last year. Right now, slotted to be in the second line with Dorofeev and Mark Stone. I told Tony on Friday's show, let's just pretend it's not going to happen. Let's pretend all 4 forward lines are healthy for the entire season. Everyone plays 82 games, and the lines never change. I say the line of William Karlsson, Mark Stone, and Pavel Dorofeev is the best scoring line for all the lines, including better than the Eichel, Barbashev, Olofsson line. What do you think about that?
I think Carlton and Stone will be really strong. I think that'll be a good line. But I just don't see it making through the whole season without injuries.
No, that's totally fair, dude. I mean, Mark, I don't know. I've said this all summer long. Mark Stone's going to have his healthiest year. Mark Stone, I think, is a man on a mission right now. Obviously, weird injury last year slowed down his season. But I've been saying Mark Stone over 70 games. I got Mark Stone playing 75 of 82 regular season games this year, Chris. What do you think about that?
Not gonna happen.
Poor Mark Stone. I don't know. I'm listening. Captain Stone, that's reminds me, Chris, Chicago Blackhawks. You know Jonathan Toews, as we've talked about him before. Jonathan Toews was nicknamed Captain Serious. Dude never smiled. Dude never he kept the team, he kept the Blackhawks, especially for their 3 Stanley Cups under his captaincy. He kept the Chicago Blackhawks in check, whether things were going well, things weren't going well. He was just a remarkable captain. Mark Stone is going to kind of follow in Jonathan Toews' footsteps, and he's going to make sure that this team is set up as best as they possibly can be on the ice and inside the locker room. So things I'm looking forward to. There you go, Captain Mark Stone, being one of the best captains in all of the NHL. I really do think you're going to see Mark Stone have his thumbprint on this version of the Vegas Golden Knights. All right, so let's go to our second segment, Chris. We've kind of been bouncing around a little bit, but what are you concerned about besides Mark Stone not playing 75 games this year? What are you concerned about for the 24-25 Vegas Golden Knights?
Well, again, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I think also losing all 5 of our players that we have right now, including one of our best goalies. That is what I'm by far most worried about.
Losing Logan Thompson, you're worried about. So I'm with you, dude. Adin Hill, let's start with the positive. 2 seasons ago, he appeared in 27 regular season games, which was a career high. That was also the Stanley Cup year where he had a remarkable Stanley Cup run. Last season, Adin Hill played in 35 regular season games, which was his highest to date. So he's going the right direction as far as his personal health goes, which is a good thing. For Adin Hill's contract and everything to be worthwhile, Adin Hill really needs to be out there for between 45 and 50 regular season games. Any more, fine, as long as he's healthy, but any less, and that's a concern. Golden Knights have Ilya Samsonov now as the backup goaltender, replacing Logan Thompson. That doesn't make Chris or I happy. We're not knocking Samsonov, but we are certainly big Logan Thompson fans in this household for a variety of reasons, Chris. Some of which we're not going to talk about on the show because some of those are private conversations, but we're big fans of Logan Thompson, to say the least. And we do wish Logan all the best, obviously, in Washington, and hopefully he has a great season. We'll see how things wrap up there. But back to Samsonov. Samsonov, the good, appears in 40 games every season, seems to be relatively healthy. Some of his stats are a bit of a concern. Some of his metrics aren't that great. So if the Golden Knights get in a spot like historically they have and have to rely on the next man up, so to speak, I think there's a drop-off from Samsonov, from Logan Thompson to Ilya Samsonov. We'll see how that plays out, but I'm kind of concerned, Chris. What do you think? I mean, I know you don't know much about Samsonov, but you'd probably feel better if Logan was still the backup. Is that fair?
Yeah. If Logan's not the backup, I take Patera instead of just bringing a whole new goalie into business.
You're not wrong. And Yuri Patera, I asked Kelly McCrimmon 2 seasons ago about kind of his state of the goaltenders and how he felt about Yuri Patera in the event that the top 2 goaltenders went down. And McCrimmon seemed very happy about Patera. And, if Patera was the man, fine, so be it. It would have been fine. Well, Patera never got a shot last year. He didn't. He appeared in 5 or 6 regular season games. At times, Aiden and Logan were both overworked, and it led to some injury trouble later in the season. So, hopefully Yuri does well. He's up with the Vancouver Canucks organization now. So all the best to Yuri, and hopefully he'll have a wonderful season and get his way up to the NHL. Yeah. It's a tough path for him. They got 3 good goalies in Vancouver: Thatcher Demko, Shelovs, Casey DeSmith. I think Casey DeSmith is still there. So Yuri Patera slots in 4, but Thatcher Demko might not be opening the season with the Canucks. He's still got some injury stuff. So who knows how that's going to play off? I mean, it's goalie situations. You never know what's going to happen. So Chris, I want you on the concerning factor, the 3 most, if you will, important, and there's been a lot of loss, but the 3 most important players, at least for me, are Marchessault, Chandler Stevenson. They haven't even talked about him at all, and Logan Thompson finding new homes. Who are you most concerned? And also Alec Martinez, Will Carrier, Mike Amadio also are no longer with the Vegas Golden Knights. So of those players I just mentioned, who are you most concerned with leaving the organization?
Marchessault and LT.
Marchessault and LT, why?
Well, because LT again was one of our best goalies, and Marchessault, I don't see a way the Golden Knights win the cup without him.
It's fair. It's hard to think about that. But also, Chris, and to be completely fair, and let's be honest for a minute here, Kelly McCrimmon's pretty good at his job. The Golden Knights, Chris, on that wall behind you, how many Pacific Division banners do you have on your wall?
3.
How many Western Conference banners are on your wall?
2.
What's that big silver thing probably down by your foot on the left side right now?
One of the Young Guns banners.
There's a Stanley Cup down there somewhere too. You know where I'm going with this, though, Chris. You understand, but you know the point that I'm making right now. So, we're going back to Marc-Andre Fleury. When Marc-Andre Fleury was traded to the Blackhawks, oh my goodness, everyone started flipping out, and I wasn't happy about that. We watched Max Pacioretty leave for absolutely nothing after the 21-22 season. Going back to the Nate Schmidt trade when Alex Pietrangelo joined the Vegas Golden Knights, and then obviously Riley Smith. So, McCrimmon knows what he's doing, and we all have to, I think, take some comfort in that. That said, yes, Marchessault, Logan Thompson concerned. I think Chandler Stevenson's kind of the forgotten man. Very similar numbers as Tomas Hertl. We'll see if the Golden Knights. We'll see what the balance is between Hertl and Stevenson leaving the team. Will Carrier, he's already injured in Carolina, unfortunately. Hopefully he can have a healthy season. He made it 2 or 3 days of camp. He's already got, I think, a lower body going on right now. Michael Amadio. Amadio, I've said this a million times, the Swiss Army knife of the forwards. He can play 4th-line center. He could play 1st-line wing. He could play 3rd-line wing. It doesn't matter. He could play all of those positions and do pretty well. I think they're gonna miss Mike Amadio. Chris, what do you think?
I honestly don't see a difference without him.
You could be right. You could be right. We get to see what a player like Alex Holtz can bring, and maybe Tanner Pearson can step into that role. So that's fair. Alec Martinez, Chris, what do you think about that?
He was a really good goal scorer and really good when he came
Martinez was okay at scoring. He was okay. He didn't score a lot, but he scored big goals.
And he was pretty good coming back from whatever injury, out of the million injuries that the Golden Knights had.
He's the shot blocker. That's why he got a million bruises.
Yeah, but he was definitely a big help when he came back. And I think he's going to be a big help on whatever team he's on now. Chicago. Really?
Yep, he went to Chicago. They paid him pretty generously. He got a $4 million thing. I believe it's a 1 or 2. I don't know if it's 2 years or 1 year. I forgot, but he got He's getting $4 million for per season, whether it's one or more. He's getting $4 million. So good for Martinez. Close to Michigan. He's obviously a big Detroit guy, a big Lions fan. So he gets to go closer to home. I think that also factored into some of his decision making to make his way to Chicago. So for me, Chris, what I'm most concerned about, a lot of things you said, we kind of hinted on health. I'm concerned about health. I hope it's a lot healthier season. The Golden Knights cannot be on the top 3 in man games lost for the first time in like a half decade. That would be really nice, but who knows if that'll work out like that. I'm concerned about chemistry. This is the first training camp, really, Chris, since season number 1, where there's all these unknowns. Kelly McCrimmon and Coach Cassidy talked about this. In season 1, you got 25 guys that got to come together. Who's going to be on line 1? Who's going to be on line 2? Most of these guys never played together. Well, fast forward now to season number 8, and we talked about all these players that left. Basically, 1/3 of the 18 regular players are gone, Chris. So that's 5 or 6 spots available for new players to come in. So concerned about all that kind of gelling and the chemistry. They have 1 less preseason game. They had 7 last year. They only have 6 this year. So they got to figure it out a little bit quicker. So that's what I'm concerned about. We're not doing like predictions or anything like that, Chris, but I think just a yes or no question. Yes or no question. Will this be a successful year for the Vegas Golden Knights? Are you going to feel good? Do you think you're going to feel good about how the season went? Be honest, it's okay.
If we get anywhere in the playoffs, yes. If we get nowhere near the playoffs, no. Or even don't make the playoffs, definitely not.
Okay, so in your opinion, Chris, I want you to fill in the blank. Blank needs to happen for this to be considered a successful Vegas Golden Knights season.
Playoffs.
Okay, so if they just limp into the playoffs like last year, it goes basically until the 80th or 81st game of the season to qualify for the playoffs, and they lose 4-0 in the first round. I'm again doom and gloom. I'm being negative right now, but if that happens, Chris, do you feel that okay, it was a good season?
Probably not.
No, that's fine. Okay, so what will you feel good about? Like a winning a first round, and then maybe making it to the top 8s.
Well, right now it's easy to say getting to the playoffs is a huge success with all these new players.
You're not wrong about that. And the things with the Golden Knights, the goalpost move, right? And what I mean when I say the goalpost move, like right now, yes, I agree with you. If they make the playoffs and at least have a good first round, maybe they win, maybe they lose. I don't know. But if they get to that part, I think it'll be okay with all the changes. And then we can build, like we talked about earlier, for the 25-26 season and beyond. If they don't make the playoffs and it's a tough season where they're like, in the Western Conference, they're like 10th or 11th most of the season, maybe they get close to the playoffs and they fall back out. Or the way you like to put it, Chris, if they're in like the 20th spot or below from a total perspective in the league, that's a concern. For me, I think right now, I'll say a successful season is A, qualifying for the playoffs earlier, not waiting until the last game. B, not being the 8th seed or wild card 2 in the Western Conference. And or C, winning 1 playoff round. Basically, if they can win 1 playoff round, I think that'd be a really good season. I'd feel good about that. What do you think?
Yeah.
That's it? Just yeah? Who is going to have the best year for the Vegas Golden Knights? That's the last thing I'm going to leave you with. What do you think? Who is the one player you're going to be like, wow, what a season? Make a prediction. I don't care. I don't need goals or assists or anything like that. Just who is going to be the person you're like, wow, this was awesome?
Well, I would say Stone if he played more games, but
what if he does?
From what I've seen from these past 2 years, I've seen he's probably taken more games off and played actual games. So if he had more ice time, I'd vote him, but I vote Eichel.
So Eichel? Eichel's going to be the man. What do you think? So Eichel, 63 games played, 61 points, something like that, point per game. I could be a little bit off on that.
Yeah.
What do you think Eichel's going to do this year that's really going to make you feel like, wow, what a year?
I think he'll just plain increase the goals and give us a better chance at least us making the playoffs.
I like it. There we go. All right. That is going to do it for the first Chris and Chris show. The first Chris and Chris show of the 24-25 Vegas Golden Knights season. Reminder, check out Locked On Vegas Golden Knights anywhere you get your podcast and on YouTube Monday through Friday. It's myself and Tony Dasco hosting. Saturday is a YouTube exclusive with me and my son, little Chris. Couldn't be happier to be able to keep this a family show. It's nice. Maybe one of these days, Chris, when you get a little older, we'll never mind. We're not going to bump Tony out. Not yet, at least. No. All right. Everybody, thank you so much. You're not getting a Twitter handle either. All right. For myself, for Tony, who's absent on Saturdays, and of course, most importantly, for little Chris, thank you for checking out the Locked On Vegas Golden Knights podcast. And please take care.
How come we're still rolling?